exciting to chew, bacon fast. We're expecting you and love, Iowa bacon love.
Jason Aldean, Full Throttle Tour 2025, powered by Patriot Mobile. When the lights come on. Friday, September 19th, Wells Fargo Arena. With Nate Smith. And Ray Lynn. Jason Aldean. On sale now at iowaeventcenter.com. Jason Aldean live.
Derek, so let's throw out a hypothetical to start off the show. Who would walk off set on Saturday Night Live faster, Morgan Wallen or Jason Aldean?
I'm not a Saturday Night Live kind of guy, so I'm probably like the worst person to ask that. But I would probably say Jason Aldean, because then he would just say, "Try that in a small town and walk off." I think that would be pretty cool.
I was genuinely curious. I was laughing as we were watching that pre-roll, just with all the news about Morgan Wallen, and then I had it in my head, what if Aldean went on Saturday Night Live? But that's besides the point.
I don't think Aldean would get the invite.
That's besides the point. This is bigger than 12 on Iowa Everywhere. And we were just talking a lot about Texas. And Texas is on the mind because that's where the Houston Cougars are heading. I guess they're going back to Texas for the Final Four in your neck of the woods in San Antonio. I'm Jake Brend, up here in Iowa, joined by Derek. Derek, how hot is it in your state right now?
It was, I think, mid-80s.
That's perfect.
It's actually been kind of weird. Well, it's been humid. We actually got some rain for the first time in God knows when, and I think I texted you guys, of course. It can't rain without my power going out, so I didn't have power for a couple hours because, if somebody pisses the wrong way in town here, the power will definitely go out, and that's exactly what happened. But it's been a little humid since that rain, but summer is, I think summer's coming probably about next week. I think we're supposed to be back in the 90s.
We need like a 5-day notice from Mother Nature on when it's going to rain in Texas, because when it rains, Derek's power goes out for like 4 or 5 days, and we just can't record.
4 or 5 days.
we just can't record. We had one time, I don't know if we talked about this on the show when it happened in the fall, but it started sprinkling outside.
Well, it didn't sprinkle. It started pouring rain, and then the power here flickered or whatever. Yeah,
it was like an Iowa sprinkle. A downpour in Texas is an Iowa sprinkle, but we were probably 20 minutes into a show, and then we just lost Derek for good. And I think Aiden and I sat just in our virtual studio in the Channel Seed studios for an hour or two, figuring out like, how are we going to make this work? Do you even remember what we did?
We ended up going the next day.
Did we do the next day? And early? You took a day off. That's right.
I took the next day off because actually I didn't have power the whole next day. The whole next day, I did not have any power or internet, so I ended up going to my sister-in-law's house to finish recording. She lived a little bit further into San Antonio, so I ended up going over there just to record a half a show, and it was a memorable one for sure.
Gosh, I'm laughing about it now, but it's so much PTSD going back to, like, I don't know. Maybe we'll find time to record in 4 days when the state of Texas gains power back. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't rain. Hopefully it doesn't rain during the Final Four. The lights will just go out in the Alamo Dome.
Might shut down.
Oh, man. That would suck. It'd be like the 2013 Super Bowl. Ravens Niners.
I wouldn't even be surprised if it actually did happen.
Oh.
I mean, I'm sure they have backup generators, but yeah.
We can't speak this into existence. All right, we got to start talking. We're 5 minutes in, and we haven't talked anything important. I'll tell you something that is important, though. Our friends at WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax, they are in high demand right now because tax season is not tax season, the tax deadline is 2 weeks away. I'm sorry, but if you haven't started on your taxes, me, you're in trouble. So if you need help, call up Tim Hawkins and his team at WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax. It might be, honestly, a little too late for them to get you in for that, but they do so much other stuff with retirement planning. That's actually what they specialize in. So they're busy right now, probably their busiest time of the year. Give them a call and visit wealthcharterretirement.com and schedule an appointment at their office in Ankeny. Thanks to WealthCharter Retirement Planning and Tax, as always, for sponsoring what we do here on Bigger Than 12. And what we're going to do today, we're going to recap the second weekend, and we're just going to go team by team. Houston, Tech, BYU, Arizona. We're going to take all the meat off the bone of Houston first, because that's the most pressing Big 12 topic right now. Then we've got West Virginia hiring a new coach, some transfer portal stuff, and Coach Prime getting an extension. So let's start right there with the Houston Cougars. A dominating win over Tennessee after a thrilling win in the Sweet 16 over Purdue. It sets up the first Final Four with all one seed since 2008. And we'll just start with how impressive Houston's run to the Final Four has been so far. I mean, they had a close call with Purdue that I think they just started milking that game a little too early, started running the shot clock down, and it let Purdue back into the game. But then Kelvin Sampson drew up a brilliant play for Milos Uzon, and then they showed the world why they're Houston in the Elite Eight against Tennessee. Just a crazy impressive win.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, honestly, in that Purdue game. Just kind of going back here a bit. I didn't think it was going to be that close. I wasn't a big believer in Purdue at all. And the Boilermakers, were right in it because I don't think Houston played their best ball in that game. I think they shot, 37% from the field, under 70% from the line. And LJ Cryer really struggled in that game. I think he went 2 for 13 here from the field. And then
couldn't buy a shot.
Yeah, without Uzon's 22 points in that game, I don't know if Houston actually wins that game. And then, of course, you've mentioned the great inbound play drawn up by Sampson. I believe you said they practiced that all week long, and I'm glad they did. They always say the inbounder, you got to watch him. Purdue should have paid attention to that. Uzon makes that inbound pass to Tugler. Tugler gives it right back to him for the easy 2 for Uzon. So that was an incredible finish. In the Tennessee game, that was a completely different game for me, and it was because Houston played a lot better offensively and played extremely well defensively in that game. I had to look at some of the numbers here. You hold the balls to 15 points and 15 in the first half. That's insane. Tennessee, get this, shot under 29% from the floor, 17% from 3. That's probably, I can't confirm that, but that's probably the worst shooting night Tennessee has had all season long. And again, it's impressive because LJ Cryer did not have his best day, but Emmanuel Sharp came through for the Cougs. They had a 20-point lead in the first half, and they kind of just coasted out that. And one more thing I'll add real quick, Jake, is the turnovers. I complained about Houston having way too many turnovers the first couple weeks, the first weekend of this tournament, and they completely cut those down. I thought they did a great job doing that and a great job on the defensive end of the floor.
I should have written it down because it stood out to me so much on the broadcast. I want to say 7 minutes in-ish to the second half, Houston had their second turnover of the game.
Yeah.
It's silly. They made Tennessee look like they hadn't played basketball before. And Tennessee, heading into the SEC tournament, really for most of the year looked like a 1 seed. Florida got hot at the end, kind of stole that last 1 seed from them. So Tennessee is one of the, analytically, they are among one of the best teams of all time. Any other year, the Vols would have been a 1 seed and maybe the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. And what Houston did to them in the first half, it looked like they'd never played against a defensive team even close to the level of Houston. And we've seen it up close all season long. I've seen it when my team personally has to go up against them. In the entire game, you're thinking, okay, well, we can't drive the ball because they've got these sturdy, quick, long-armed guards. And then if you do get in the paint somehow, what's waiting for you? JoJo Tugler, a guy who averages, feels like 15 blocks a game. You've got Juwan Roberts. Javier Francis off the bench would start at any other program at the 5 spot. I'm beyond impressed with what Houston is able to do to other high-level teams because, let's be honest, Houston can do that to a UCF. Houston can do that to a Colorado, and it's not as impressive. But when you go and do that to a Tennessee team that was a very popular pick to not only make the Final Four but win the national championship, that is a brilliant, brilliant coaching job by Kelvin Sampson.
Yeah, you're right. They completely bullied, if you think about it, they bullied a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament like they were absolutely nothing, like they were a piece of trash on the side of the road. They just completely knocked them out of the way.
And do you know what I just did? I didn't mention the offense once. That's what's taken this Houston team to another level compared to years past. For me, is not only are they the best defensive team in the country, they now are one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country. They don't do it at an extremely high volume, but it's super timely and it's super efficient. And you've got these 3 guards. It's very rare that all 3 of them have great games on the same day. But if you get 2, like if you get a combination of Sharp and Cryer playing great or Uzan and Cryer playing great, they're almost unbeatable. And if you only get 1 great game out of them, you've still got a pretty good shot at winning because they're so good defensively. You've got Juwan Roberts down low. I'm just so impressed with Houston. And I'm so impressed with the road they had to get to the Final Four because I don't even remember who they played as a 16 seed. Don't care. But what they got for their 8 seed was they got the number 9 team in KenPom, Gonzaga, a team that's been to the national championship, a team that has been to multiple Final Fours, the Sweet 16 almost every single year. That Gonzaga team was probably a 4 or 5 seed disguised as an 8 seed. You get past them, what are you rewarded with? You have to play Purdue in their backyard in a football stadium in a true road game against a team that was in the national championship a season ago. You squeak past them, and then you get Tennessee, a team that in literally any other year in the history of the NCAA tournament would have been a 1 seed. You've got to play them with a team that's also got a huge fan base, really close to their hometown, and they went right through it. So that begs the question for me, of the 4 1 seeds that made the Final Four, which had the most impressive run?
Yeah, you made a case there for Houston. I can make a case for Houston as well, even for Duke, but I'm actually going to go with Florida. Norfolk State was about as easy gets, but then, they take down the 2-time defending national champions with UConn, and they beat their whiny-ass coach. Then they take down a good Maryland team, which, they handled them pretty easily, and then beat a red-hot Texas Tech team in the Elite Eight where they had to make that big late comeback. I personally do not feel like there's been a team more tested in the Final Four this year than the Florida Gators. Like, that Florida team has been through hell and high water in this tournament, and while I don't give a rat's ass about Florida, but I respect them and what they have had to go through so far to get here.
Yeah, I think you can make the argument for all 4 1 seeds, except maybe Auburn. I feel like they had a bit easier of a path, but again, they had to go through Creighton and Greg McDermott as the 8 seed.
Yep.
That's what was so weird about this season of college basketball is the 8 and 9 seeds this year compared to years past. You didn't want to see any of them. Baylor, national champions in 2021. That's who Duke beat. Creighton, perennially Sweet 16, Elite 8 caliber teams. That's who Auburn beat. UConn, the 2-time defending national champions. Gonzaga, for not only all of the 1 seeds to get to the Final Four, of course, that is unprecedented nearly and is extremely impressive, but the fact that all of them got to the Sweet 16 is impressive. Surely one of them would have gotten clipped by one of those programs, but I didn't answer my own question. I just made the case for Houston, and I'm just going to go with Houston. I don't need to remake my case. Just the quality of teams, the 2 top 10 teams on KenPom. Purdue, top 15 team in a true road game. And the fashion that they did it all in is so impressive to me. And I just love watching this team. They are so freaking good.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that Purdue had basically a home game there in the Sweet 16 when Houston is the 1 seed in that particular region. So I know how things work out with the selection committee. I totally understand how things can play out, but I just found that very strange.
Yeah, it's weird, but some of that stuff is unavoidable.
Exactly.
And it doesn't help that Houston doesn't have a crazy big fan base either. Like, watching that Purdue game, one, the stadium mics were terrible. It felt like a basketball game being played in a quarter full football stadium, which is exactly what it was. But it honestly felt like Houston was playing in the Bahamas. Like that's the amount of fans that it seemed like they had there. And credit to them, they powered through one, and hopefully they have every single Houston Cougar fan in the world in the building on Saturday. So let's do this. We can do it quick. How would you power rate the Final Four teams, the Final Four 1 seeds?
Yeah, this is probably going to be boring for a lot of people, but I'm riding or dying with my bracket. I have Houston and Florida playing for the title and the Cougars winning it all. I think all of us have the Cougars winning it all. So I'm going Houston at 1, Florida at 2, give me Duke at 3, and I feel comfortable with Auburn at 4. And I know people may not agree with the pick, but I did pick Houston. I picked Houston, Duke, and Florida to all be here right now. The only team I did not pick in my Final Four was Auburn because I picked Iowa State, which it turns out that was a horrible pick. But in all honesty, I wouldn't be shocked to see any possible national championship matchup here. There's a reason why all these teams were 1 seeds in the first place, and because they're all really freaking good. I mean, it's not often. I think you said since 2008, since all the 1 seeds have made the Final Four. Well, it's usually the road to get there is extremely tough, but all 4 of these teams have played extremely well up to this point.
Yeah, these are historically 4 great teams. If you look at the net rating on KenPom, the net rating on any of those analytical sites, these teams are all historically dominant, and it is such an outlier to have all of these teams this good at the same time in the same season. So I don't think there's a wrong way that you can power rate these 4 teams, but I'll go Duke 1. Because of the pure talent. Like, I think all 4 of these teams are so freaking good, so well coached, so tough. But I think the pure talent of Duke puts them number 1 for me. You've got Cooper Flagg, who he's 17 or just turned 18. He should be in high school right now. He's easily the highest upside player in the Final Four. And I think that's what gives me the edge for Duke over Houston. Can Houston win the game? Absolutely. And that's why I'm going the Cougs at 2. They've lost 1 game since Christmas. 1 game. They have 1 regulation loss all season long. 3 of their losses came to Elite 8 teams. Like, Houston is so elite, and they flew under the radar because I think of those 3 kind of weird non-conference losses. One of them was to San Diego State in overtime, but they went 19-1 in the Big 12. That just doesn't happen. And we all know how high level of basketball is in the Big 12. I'll go Houston 2, Florida 3, Auburn 4. I think I think Auburn and Florida are pretty interchangeable, but Florida is playing better basketball right now. They're healthier. We don't know the status of Janai Broom completely, but that game's a coin flip to me. And my favorite part about this is no matter how Saturday breaks, we're getting a high-level national championship. And I know you just said your national championship pick, Houston over Florida. I'm going to agree with you. I power rated Duke 1 because I think they deserve it, but I think Houston is going to find a way to win that game. And then I like them in the championship. Honestly, even if they lose, I like the winner of that Houston-Duke game to cut down the nets in San Antonio on Monday night.
Yeah, if I were to say no, that Houston can't win it, I think I'd look like a complete jackass, which some people may argue I do no matter what. But if I picked this team, like I said earlier, and Jake, you did too, Aiden, I believe, did as well. I think we all believe this team can do it. For those who follow the Big 12 or listen to the show, they know how good Houston is. Like, sure, they don't get the national attention like Duke does this season, but they're the real deal. You mentioned they haven't lost a game, I think, since February 1st was their last loss. Now they're a game away from playing for a title. And something I like about Coach Sampson is something he said this past weekend. I think it was after the Purdue game. He pretty much said that playing in the Big 12 in those tough road environments helped prepare them for those kind of games. And he's right. Like, this Houston team is ready. And the one thing I would like to see is LJ Cryer getting back to his A game, because they're going to need it from here on out.
Yeah, Uzon was great. Sharp closed out the Elite Eight game, but they need their best guard to be their best guard, and that's LJ Cryer. And that quote makes me think what they did in Lawrence on, 2 months ago already. It's wins like that gives me so much confidence that if the game is even close at the end, I trust Kelvin Sampson's veteran guys to find a way. And I think they'll do it on Monday. And I can't wait. It's going to be a great weekend of basketball. But there is one team that didn't get it done down the stretch. Or they did. You could make the argument in the Sweet 16 that Texas Tech found a way to get it done, and then in the Elite Eight, they did not. So this begs the question, because we all know that Saturday was a choke job, and I don't say that in a laughing matter. Like, my stomach still feels sick even thinking about that game for our brothers in Lubbock. Was the Sweet 16 a better win, or was the Elite Eight against Florida a worse loss for the Red Raiders?
Well, just looking at the two games, I had to really sit down and think about where these two games is and kind of just look at the box score here just to kind of remind myself what these leads were looking like here late in the games. In the Arkansas game, Tech was down by 14 with less than 5 minutes left and won. And against Florida, Tech was up by 9 with less than 4 minutes left and then lost. So both were crazy finishes. And you talk about a whirlwind of emotions. This Tech team has went through them the past few days. If I had to pick, I would probably say the Sweet 16 win was better, simply because I don't think people were expecting Tech to be in the Elite Eight in the first place. And even if they did, I don't know how many people actually had Tech getting past Florida. Like, even on my bracket, I did not have Tech moving past Florida. I didn't even have Tech there in the Elite Eight. So you can make a case for either side here, but I would go with the Sweet 16 being a better win. Plus, without the Sweet 16 against Arkansas, the Florida game never happens. But I could see either argument here, because you're right. The choke job that happened on Saturday was an epic collapse.
I think it's the Elite Eight game, and it's not even close. Like, the Sweet 16 game was incredible, maybe the best game of the tournament. But, gosh, you're that close from the Final Four. You missed 2 front end 1-on-1s. You had that near 10-second violation that you ended up fouling with, tenths of a second left on. They had so many chances to win that game, and again, credit to Florida. Walter Clayton Jr. is that guy. He is that guy, and he made big-time shots, huge shots down the stretch. Florida deserved to win that game, but man, if I'm a Tech fan, I don't know how I would ever sleep again. If that happened to Iowa State, gosh, that was 3-4 days ago now. There's zero shot that I would have slept since that happened, because what's waiting for you on the other side? A Final Four trip. The team that spoiled the all-1 seed Final Four. And if you win the game and you're in the Final Four, you just beat Florida. You didn't go beat some 12 seed in the Elite Eight to get there. You beat Florida. If you beat Florida, you can beat anybody in the country. It's sickening. I feel awful for Tech fans. I don't know how you stomach that. I feel horrible for the team. I know they're going to be back in that spot, and I know that the preseason expectation certainly was not Elite Eight. I don't know, even pre-tournament, how many people thought, oh yeah, this Tech team will be in the Final Four. I did. I picked them. I bet that they would be in the Final Four. But even without the expectations weighted, that loss will take away from the sweetness of win in the Sweet 16, and that just sucks. It sucks that they couldn't get the job done.
Jake, if that happened to Iowa State, you would be in your room in fetal position, and I don't think you would have got out. I think you'd still been in your room in that position. I don't know if we could have got you to do the show.
It made that loss, it finally made me understand completely what 2000 was like for Iowa State fans that were alive. To have a double-digit lead in the Elite Eight, in that circumstance, was the national championship. It's pretty well documented that the two best teams in the country met in the Elite Eight in Auburn Hills. And whether it was officiating, a choke job, Eustace getting ejected, like, Iowa State was that close to not only going to the Final Four, but having a very good shot of winning the national championship. And I was raised in that darkness. Like, I've watched that game back. I've studied that game because I've got to understand the fandom, and I've got to understand the nut kicks of all nut kicks. But to watch that happen in real time, what happened to Texas Tech when I didn't know the result, I felt that on behalf of them. Yeah.
Were you even alive in 2000?
No. But trust me,
Oh, man.
my earliest Iowa State memory isn't anything that was happening in current time. It was my dad telling me about 2000. Like,
Okay.
it is that deeply ingrained in Cyclone fandom. So I don't necessarily get what Tech fans feel, but what Tech fans felt on Saturday in a way made me feel what Iowa State fans that are of age felt 25 years ago. So
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'd be in my room. I might be curled up in the fetal position in a ditch if that would have happened.
Ooh,
Maybe
That's
worse. Hopefully not worse. Hopefully I never have to experience that.
that's getting dark. It's getting real dark in here.
We'll move on to BYU, Arizona. But first, let's thank our friends at Freedom Tire. You never know when you're going to need Freedom Tire, because on Friday it was 85 degrees in Iowa, and on Sunday it was snowing. Like, Iowa's unpredictable, the roads are unpredictable, and your cars are unpredictable. So if you ever need help, if you ever need an oil change, spare tire, Freedom Tire does it all. Quentin Crowner and his team will take care of you at all 5 of their central Iowa locations, including Ames, Altoona, Urbandale, Des Moines, and West Des Moines. Go take your car in for a routine checkup, or if you need something big time fixed, the Freedom Tire team's got you covered. Thanks to Freedom Tire for supporting what we do here at Iowa Everywhere. BYU loses in the Sweet 16. They give up an NCAA tournament record 75 threes. I didn't even know that was possible. Actually, I think it was just 25. I mean, just a butt kicking, but when you look at the matchup, you can't say it's too big of a surprise, because BYU could have easily done that the other way if shots were falling on a different night. So BYU goes out in the Sweet 16. How will you remember their season?
I think it should be remembered as a great one. It was Kevin Young's first season as the head coach there, and he did an outstanding job with that NBA-style offense. Like, this is a program, I had to look it up, this is a program that's made 2 Sweet 16 appearances in the last 40 years. And this season was one of them. The other one was obviously in 2011 with Jimmer Fredette.
Yeah.
And at one point, we talked about it on the show, this was the hottest team in the Big 12, and that offense of theirs carried them to the Sweet 16. And if Alabama didn't have the day they had shooting the ball, we might still be talking about this BYU team moving on here to the Elite Eight, or the Final Four, down the road here.
Yeah, it was just a terrible matchup for BYU. They were playing themselves on steroids, essentially, and it doesn't help when Mark Spears couldn't miss, and it also doesn't help that BYU wasn't exactly locking them down on defense. These weren't all insanely contested shots. They certainly hit a couple of them, but a lot of these shots were wide open, and that doesn't take away from the season at all from BYU. If anything, the way I'll remember this BYU season will be, what if they got it going a little bit earlier? What if they played at this level all season long? They could have been a 2 or a 3 seed, and then they wouldn't have needed to go through a team like Alabama in the Sweet 16. But just like you said, this season was an overwhelming success, and I think down the road, it'll be remembered more of a springboard for the future than anything. I think BYU is primed to be one of the 3 best programs in the Big 12 going forward. The recruiting classes they've got coming in. Kevin Young, I think, is a brilliant coach. They've got the resources. They've got the atmosphere. I think this will be remembered as a special season in Provo, not because of necessarily what was accomplished, but what was started for the future. And unfortunately for other Big 12 teams, I think it's going to be the start of something very, very, very elite.
I blame Orida. Did you see John Heater was there with Tater Tots?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, come on. Napoleon Dynamite?
No, I'm kidding.
You know who Napoleon Dynamite is. Come on.
I was trying
I mean,
to
that
piss
was
you
pretty
off.
cool. It was pretty cool to have him there. I thought that was pretty cool. But, that might also be the reason why they lost in that game.
Very well could have been.
Maybe we should point the finger at John Heater.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, John. Speaking of loss, Arizona. Man, if this game didn't personify what we saw from Arizona this season. Down big at one point, stupid hot at the end because of Caleb Love. They just come up a little bit short against Duke. How will you remember Arizona's first season in the Big 12?
Probably like a little bit of a roller coaster ride, pretty up and down. This was a streaky team this season. I mean, they had a point this year where they actually won 13 out of 14 games. I think it was from mid-December to early February. Then the wheels kind of fall off. They ended the regular season losing 5 of their last 8, but then went on a run in Kansas City, made it all the way to the Big 12 tournament championship game, then won 2 games here in the tournament. I mean, getting to the Sweet 16 was great, but there were definitely some bumps along the way there. But I don't think we're going to sit here and complain about the loss to Duke like we knew it was going to happen. Like we both picked Duke, I believe, to win this game.
Yeah, I think weird is how I'll remember this Arizona season. Because they come in as a top 10 preseason team in the AP poll, and they fall off a cliff. I think they started the year 4-5.
Yeah.
Something in that ballpark. Everyone's like, what is wrong with Arizona? Wasn't this team supposed to come in and challenge for the league, and then they were out of it? And then you said they go on a 13-14 game win streak. They show, that this is a top 10 team. They just couldn't put the pieces together early on for whatever reason. And then they slide a little bit, and they probably had 2 or 3 seed potential at one point, slide back into a 4. And honestly, I think the way their season ended was right. It was just. If you look at all the pieces put together, that's how it should have ended. They showed going up against Duke that they were worthy. Like they were one of the 10 to 12 best teams in college basketball. I've got no doubt, but a little too much inconsistency out of your best players. It's not enough to beat Duke. And I think that this first season will be remembered as weird, and I have no doubt that a Sweet 16 finish probably won't be remembered too fondly for Arizona, but it's certainly a decent springboard into their future.
Yeah, I'm sure Arizona fans were expecting a Final Four, or at least at the very least an Elite Eight appearance, but that just didn't happen. You ran into a really good Duke team, and you, like you said, when I said they've been inconsistent pretty much all season long.
Yeah, a more consistent season, they wouldn't have had to be a 4 seed in Duke's region. That's just the reality of it. You could have been a 2 or a 3, and you've got a much easier road to the Elite Eight, the Final Four, and Tommy Lloyd knows that they'll be back. I know they've had some KJ Lewis, Henry Vasar to the portal. Caleb Love's gone, so they're gonna have some rebuilding to do. But they've got the coach, they've got the atmosphere, they've got the history. I think Arizona's going to be fine.
Agreed.
All right, Aiden. Want to come on in with the Iowa trivia question?
Let's do it.
It's not a Taco
Sorry.
John's question, is it?
No taco-related question this week.
All right.
Derek, this famous painting was based on a house in Eldon, Iowa.
Oh, what's it called? I know. I can picture it in my mind. Is it the one with the farmer and his wife? He's got the pitchfork. Is that the one?
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called. I'm not
Jake?
This may shock you. I'm not much of an art person.
Yeah, I don't know what the name of it. I know what the
Yeah, I know the
painting
picture.
is.
American Gothic.
American. Yeah, okay. I've heard
American Gothic. I don't
Brentwood.
think I'd have got that one. Unless they had like nose rings in their noses or something.
that. Yeah,
We're
like
all
if someone asked me on the street, what's the most famous painting to ever come from Iowa? I'd be like, oh, the pitchfork guy in front of that house wearing something funny, but gun to my head, I probably couldn't have told you American Gothic.
I'd have guessed corn. A picture of corn.
I mean, that'd be a beautiful picture. I don't know how no one's thought of it.
There you go. Just right. Look at the segue right there.
Yeah, that's an alley-oop there from Duke to Brend for the slam. Of course, we love Iowa corn. It's what makes the state go. It's what makes the world go. The world, it might be down in flames if Iowa corn didn't exist. The Iowa Corn Growers Association is looking for members to not only help impact your own personal farm or the farms in your communities, but all the farms from Iowa throughout the state and how that impacts Washington, D.C. So people that are much smarter than me, Derek, and Aiden that are at Iowa Corn are looking for members into their fight to help keep priorities that help farmers that are including higher ethanol demand, expanded trade opportunities, and key tax credits. Again, I don't understand the weight of all of that, but farmers that are listening or anyone that has anything to do with Iowa corn and Iowa farmers, they know the impact of that. You can go join the movement and check those investments at iowacorn.org. Again, Iowa corn runs the world.
Pump it up, pump it up. So I get
And
that
they do
stuck
it,
in my head.
They
every
do
time.
it with that song.
They do.
That's how they rule the world.
It's catchy. It's grown on me.
So we've got a coaching hire. I believe this will be the last Big 12 basketball coaching thing that we've got to talk about until next season, because West Virginia hires North Texas head coach Ross Hodge out of the Grant McCasland coaching tree. Derek, what do you think about this hire?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I kind of had to look up his background here and kind of follow his career. Find it interesting. They went with the guy with really a ton of Texas ties here. Started as in the JUCO rankings in Paris, Texas, which I have actually been to. Yes, there's an Eiffel Tower there in Paris. Worked his way to Midland.
What kind?
It's a small Eiffel Tower. It's just like a makeshift one. It's very small. It's way up north near the border in Oklahoma.
Love a makeshift Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, it's damn near in Oklahoma, so it's a different world up there. But worked his way to Midland before jumping to D1, spending time, I think, at Southern Miss, Colorado State, Arkansas State. Got his big head coaching break, obviously, there at North Texas, which was kind of a dormant program there even before McCasland got there. And speaking of McCasland, as you just mentioned, he was on two of his staffs at both Arkansas State and North Texas. I thought he did a decent job there at the D1 level for 2 seasons at North Texas. 2 NIT appearances, I believe, there. I'm not really sure how he's going to fit in at a place like West Virginia, if we're being honest. Like his mentor, Grant McCasland, obviously stayed in Texas. Hodge is going way far away from Texas, so that's going to be interesting. For West Virginia, I'm pretty sure they're kind of looking for their own version of Grant McCasland here.
Yeah, I think that's the best way that it works out, and that's why I like the hire. I know Steve Forbes, when we recorded last week, seemed like the front runner. I did not like that. I did not like that at all. A guy who's been pretty mediocre at the Power 5 level, it's not what is needed in Morgantown. I think that this will bring a fire. It's going to bring a spark. It's a younger guy, comes from a winning coaching tree, really has won wherever he's gone. I'm not going to call it a home run because every hire on the surface seems like a home run. But this one, the ties to Ren Baker, the West Virginia athletic director, was at North Texas. He knows him better than anybody. I think it's a really solid hire. And if it can be, 70%, 60% of what Grant McCaslin's been in 2 years, if it can be 60% of that in the first 2 years of the Hodge era at West Virginia, I think it's a home run hire.
Agree. It's going to be interesting for me. I'm not going to call it a home run hire by any means. I got to see it to believe it first. So he doesn't have a ton of head coaching experience at this level. So we'll see how it goes.
And I think if you want to poke holes in it, it's that North Texas is a great job in comparison to the rest of their conference. North Texas is probably, if it's not the best job,
I don't know.
Are they in the American? I probably should have looked that up before. I
Conference USA, the American, they're all the same shit.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is the Conference USA, and if it's the Conference USA, I think it's among the best or one of the best jobs, and that can be a slippery slope because, like, Steve Prohm was at Murray State and he was this awesome coach, but Murray State was significantly better than any other job in the Ohio Valley at that time. Yeah, they are in the American. So behind Memphis, they're the best job in the conference. So that's where you can poke a hole in it, is that it's maybe not very difficult to win at North Texas, but coming out of the McCaslin coaching tree, I think it's a smart hire for West Virginia.
And if he gets fired, I'm sure he's got a job at Texas Tech waiting for him.
Yeah, on staff. That's a good coaching tree. Dusty May, Grant McCaslin, Ben McCollum, all those guys kind of came up in the same ranks at the same time. So I think you're hitting a pretty good mine there if you're the Mountaineers.
That's fair.
All right, Aiden, come back in. We've got our random Big 12 player, and gosh, I hope it's easier than last week. I can't believe I'm saying this, but
it's not.
I think we knew it like a quarter of the way through one of his clues.
Record time.
Yeah.
It was a lazy one. That was a softball question. I'm going to give you a much harder one. So
don't give me a Big 12 softball question because I probably won't get that right.
Well, I'm saying I gave you a softball. I tossed you a softball. You hit it out of the park. Congratulations. All right, this shooting guard played all 4 years of college at one Big 12 school. His freshman season, he was named to the Big 12 all-newcomer team, averaging 7.5 points per game. His numbers got better as the seasons went on. In his senior year, he got into a little bit of trouble, faced 2 small suspensions for violating team rules. But his senior year, he finished 5th in the Big 12 in scoring, averaging 15.1 points per game. However, his team did not make the tournament that season, but they did go on to win the NIT.
See, I was thinking LeGerald Vick, but it's not it.
I'll toss another one to you. He went undrafted, and the coach that he played for is no longer at that school.
Who won the NIT?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back to my NIT championship. So I know
how important
Baylor,
the NIT is.
Baylor won it, but Scott Drew would have been there.
Yeah, they beat Iowa in like 2013. Oh, man.
I'm stumped.
Told you.
I feel like Jerome Tang has coached in an NIT or two. Probably not good enough to win it.
I gave you guys a curveball, and you're striking out.
Give me a second. This is great radio right now. Silence, thinking, stalling.
I can't even think of a team that won the NIT.
I want to say
I thought that would help. But I guess I understand.
Derek, you forgot that I don't give a rat's ass about the NIT.
Yeah.
The NIT doesn't mean shit. I know that.
I don't even think Iowa State has played in the NIT
It's a freaking joke. It's a joke tournament. It's like the Crown.
As Aiden and I were old enough, I know they did back in, whatever, 03, when they lost to Iowa at Hilton Coliseum. I want to say it's an Oklahoma State player. But no, they didn't win. Is it Juwan Staten?
No. It's pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. Yeah, I got nothing. If you want to give us the team, and we'll chalk it up as a loss, and then we'll have another guess.
It's from Texas.
Oh.
Fake Big 12 school.
Well, he played all 4
Is it
years
Isaiah
in the Big 12.
Isaiah Taylor?
It is not.
I got nothing.
Aiden, you want to give it one last Hail Mary here?
Oh, I don't have anything.
It's Kerwin Roach.
Okay.
Really?
Texas, yes.
Kerwin Roach won an NIT championship?
He did.
I can't believe he was pre-COVID.
His last season was 2018-2019, and he went undrafted in 2019.
Dang.
I believe he's still playing overseas, I think, right now, so I had to look that up.
Aiden and I are both scholarly gentlemen. We don't acknowledge the existence of Texas on this program.
Y'all both acknowledge the existence of Oklahoma the last 2 weeks.
Nah, Oklahoma's fine.
Blake Griffin, Buddy Hield.
Honestly, I feel bad for Oklahoma because they don't have the spines to make decisions for themselves. Like,
no, they don't.
Oh, Father Texas, you're leaving the Big 12 for the SEC? Let us join you. Like, Texas is a bunch of douchebags, don't get me wrong. Like, they made the decision for money, and they had been setting the conference back for years because of their selfishness. But Oklahoma was just doing it because their father told them to. And, I mean, it's cowardly, but whatever. It's fine. I didn't mean to get on an OU Texas rant on...
Bigger than 12. Blast from the past.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk transfer portal. It's been a wild cycle. There's close to 1,300 players in the portal.
That's it?
I don't even want to know how much money's being thrown around.
Gosh.
But I think we got to start at where it all started. And by it, I mean the sport of basketball. Because Dr. James Naismith is rolling around in his grave right now. KU has 5 players in the portal. I think the only guy they've got on their roster is AJ Storr. Don't quote me on that. But Flory Bedenga, Diggy Coit, Rylan Griffin, Rakees Passmore, Zach Clements, all in the portal. Dickinson, Mayo, Harris, Adams, all graduated. Pretty much nobody left on their roster. How should and how will KU assemble their roster for next season?
You know, I'm not going to name specific players that necessarily going to go after. I kind of said this on last week's show. Bill needs to put together a team, not just an all-star team, but an actual team that can play together. This past year, he was the one that put that team together, and it wasn't really much of a team, in my opinion. I said it all year long. It was pieces to a puzzle that never quite got put together, and I think that's what Bill needs to focus on here. It's not just getting the best player, but finding a way to put together 5 guys who could all be on the floor at the same time and excel. Like Kansas is going to Kansas. They're going to pay the big bucks. They're going to chase the top names. They're going to get top talent at both the high school level and in the transfer portal. But he's got to find a way to make that talent compatible.
I think on the surface, KU can and should be able to get whoever they want. The problem is their history with transfers is not good. AJ Storr was a top 5 player in the portal last year. Hunter Dickinson was maybe statistically the best player to ever enter the transfer portal. Both those guys were Jayhawks. Rylan Griffin averaged double digits on a Final Four team. Every single one of those guys underperformed in their time as a Jayhawk. And transfers see that. Players see that. Parents see that. Now, the good news is a big bag of money can I guess, divert your attention away from that. But I don't think it's just as simple as, well, we have more money, come to Kansas. Because I think there's got to be a fit. And that's on the players' end of things. Like, players have to be, I think, convinced hey, Bill, you going to play me? Are you going to play me over DeJuan Harris? Are you going to give me shots? And Self hasn't been proven to do that, and that's why it's a huge offseason. It's maybe the biggest offseason in Bill Self's tenure. He's got to put together a team, and it's already not off to a good start because they've lost Flory Bedenga. Every single person would have thought that Flory would be a part of this team next year. I thought Flory should have had a bigger role this past season, and he didn't. And I can't say I blame him for leaving. You bring in Darren Peterson. He is one of the best recruits in the country. I think he has the chance to be the best KU freshman since Andrew Wiggins. And that's high expectations. I know KU fans think that of him. He is a good enough player, not Cooper Flagg level, but maybe the next tier below that as far as impact college freshmen go, where I think he's good enough to be the best player on a national championship team. But it's about the pieces around him. And I know it's not a great example because Iowa State flamed out this season, but you got to go out there and you got to get your Nate Heisey. I don't think you can have your Nate Heisey be AJ Storr. I don't think you can pay $3 million for a 19 points per game scorer and have him play that sixth man role. It just can't happen. And I'll be interested to see how KU does it. After 2 years of this, I don't have much faith in that happening.
Yeah, I think last week, if I remember correctly, I said maybe Bill should seek some outside help when putting together a team or this roster. And we see it in college football now. There are several college football programs that have actual GMs at the helm trying to put together these rosters.
Trey Young, did you see that today?
I did. So that, I think Bill should maybe incorporate that. Maybe they need to bring in somebody to help put this roster together and just let Bill kind of focus on the coaching aspect of it.
Yeah, and you're never going to hear me question Bill Self overall. I can question this area because it's been a pretty clear weak spot of his that they've got the roster or they've got the resources to build whatever roster they want. And he hasn't put together a winning roster in this completely new era yet. So it's a huge offseason in Lawrence. I'm sure by the time we record next week, we'll have a much bigger idea of what they put together. I know Keyshawn Hall is interested. That's certainly a guy. He has the dude potential to be one of the best players on a championship team. But he's been at 3 schools in 3 seasons. He was on a UCF team that I thought was extremely talented that did not meet expectations at all. They didn't even get close. Was Hall the reason for that? I don't know. He could have been. He could not have been. I think that's the type of evaluation that has to be done from Self and his staff from within. And we'll see if they do it.
Money doesn't solve everything.
But it solves a lot. It certainly solves a lot. And it can buy you a boat, too. And that solves a lot of problems. I take it you're not a fan of that song?
No, I'm not. I know the song. I'm not a fan of that song, no.
All right, how about the Cyclones? So, most of their class seems close to put together. Oscar Clough committed to Purdue. I know he was a huge target for Iowa State. He was one of the biggest targets in the portal in general. So now that they missed out on Clough, the class as it stands right now, this could get released after another commit. But as it stands right now, you got Mason Williams out of Eastern Washington. You've got Blake Buchanan out of Virginia. And what's his face from Purdue Fort Wayne? I'm totally blanking on his name.
Mulder.
Right? Eric Mulder. Sorry to my fellow Iowan, fellow Little Hawkeye brethren. He was in my high school's conference growing up. What is Iowa State's biggest roster concern heading into next season?
Well, like some of the things they've done, obviously, in the portal, you just mentioned with those 3 guys. I think now you kind of get somebody that can go and emerge as that top guy here. Go get another guard if you can. I do like where if you look back, what they have coming back here, Lipsy, Jefferson, you have a 40% three-point shooter and Milan coming back. That's a pretty decent base right there. Adding these 3, I think, is going to be pretty good as well. But you just need to get another scoring guard. You need to get somebody else that can shoot the rock for you. But I will say I'm probably I'm no basketball expert by any means. You probably don't want me putting together a basketball team together because it would end up with like a Rick Pitino recruiting style from his days at Louisville. Like there would be all kinds of illegal shit going on.
You'd be taking your players to brothels?
The NCAA would have a field day with me.
You're going to get us canceled.
I'm just telling you the truth, man. I would do whatever it takes to get the guys. I'd do whatever it takes for my team. I'd take a bullet for them. I'm a team player, man.
Oh, man.
Could you imagine Rick Pitino's assistant? Like, you're going to say no to Rick Pitino when he tells you go take him wherever he wants you to take him to. You're going to be like, no, I'm not doing that, Rick.
I don't know, man. I don't think there's brothels in Iowa, so if you ever somehow got the Iowa State job, I don't know where you would take your players, but...
I think he hired hookers. He brought in hookers, if I remember correctly. It was a good story.
I can tell you with certainty that is not happening at Iowa State with TJ Alzelberger and his good staff of quality men. I can't believe.
I just said that's how I would recruit. I didn't say that's how Iowa State's going to recruit.
No, I know. I was not expecting you to say that.
Man, I hope TJ's not recruiting like that.
No, he's not. I can assure you that. So the Iowa State transfer portal and roster for next year got to get back on track. Missing out on Clough is not ideal. It's what you wanted, but the spin that I'll put on it, and I know not everybody wants to hear the spin, is Iowa State's defense fell off immensely this last year. I know the analytics don't really back that up, but the eye test does. And a lot of that came from interior defense, and not necessarily, I'm not talking all block shots or anything like that. I'm talking about the big men and their ability to guard the pick and roll. Big Rob Energy, Robert Jones, had a very innate ability to be able to hang with smaller guards on the perimeter, which for his size, it doesn't make a ton of sense on how he's able to do it, but he was. I think this Buchanan kid is able to be a little closer to Rob in that sense defensively than what Iowa State got out of Deshaun Jackson and Brant Chatfield this last year. So if Iowa State is able to shore up that interior defense, Jefferson's able to make a jump defensively, and then you got to see what you get out of these guards. I think if they get Andrew Rohde, he's certainly a capable defender. Taman Lipsey's one of the best in the country. Nate Heisey, also a very good guard. So I think defensively, you're short up to maybe get back to the level that the team was a couple years ago. But the offense, it's fair to call that into question because Milo Momcilovic has been great at times, but we've yet to see him be the number 1 or 2 option on a team like Iowa State. And I think he showed a lot after Keyshawn Gilbert was in and out of the lineup the last month of the season. I think Momcilovic showed a ton as a go-to scorer. I think that's something he can build on, but it'd be nice to bring in maybe one more sure scoring option. There is an open scholarship. There's actually 2 open scholarships right now. I'm kind of judging this on the basis that Andrew Rohde from Virginia will be committing. I don't know what they do with that 5th scholarship. It could go to now walk on Cade Kelderman, or they could kind of hold it and see maybe what happens in the portal if you can go out and get another guy. But as it stands right now, I don't know. I'd say Iowa State's had like a C+ transfer portal cycle. You've got some unproven guys that have potential, and we'll see where that goes. But I don't think there's going to be the type of hype heading into next season as there was this past year. And who knows? That could be good. That's something Taman Lipsey referenced after the loss to Ole Miss, was that there was a lot of pressure with being targeted that they weren't really used to. And I think that loss to Ole Miss, I think the guys that came back, I think Joshua Jefferson has Big 12 Player of the Year potential. I truly think he'll be Iowa State's best player next year. I think that's going to be a motivated group to prove a lot of people wrong, because I know a lot of the online fan base, of course, they weren't happy with the Ole Miss loss, but I think a lot of the online fan base hasn't been happy with the transfer portal cycle yet. And that could be a lot of motivation for a potentially very hungry Iowa State team.
I think potential is a good way to label next year's team just as an early peak here for that. I think potential is a really good way to describe that for right now.
Yeah, and I think you got to say potential when they're going to be counting on some freshmen. You're going to be counting on Jamarian Bateman to come in, Killian Torrey to come in and maybe be a defensive guard off the bench. Bateman is maybe going to be asked to fill that Curtis Jones role. And that's a lot of pressure to put on a freshman because Kurt Jones was an All-American. I don't think those words are ever going to come up. Like, you got to be Kurt. But I think Bateman's going to be expected to come in and make some shots. And we've seen it with freshmen. We thought Noyes Andrewsitis would play. We thought Omaha Ballou would be a lottery pick. And neither of those guys have worked out. So there's a lot of a lot of pressure on a couple of the freshmen to work out at Iowa State. So that does it for basketball. So I guess football it is. Sad day for me because Coach Prime will not be coaching the Dallas Cowboys in the near future.
No, brother.
Signs a 5-year, $54 million contract extension at the University of Colorado, making him the highest paid coach in the Big 12 and one of the 10 highest paid coaches in college football. Is this the right move?
Well, there's a reason they call him primetime because he gets the primetime slots on TV and he makes the primetime money. Like, I know there are some people out there who don't like this, or they're going to say he's grossly overpaid, like Matt Van Winkle when he was texting me last week about this, saying that I was wrong about it. I think it's a fair deal. Like, think about where Colorado football was before Deion got there. It was like the Pac-12. It was completely dead. And if you don't believe me, I looked this up. Go back all the way to 2003. Since 2003, Colorado has had 2 9-win seasons, and one of those belongs to Deion Sanders. And he did that just in year 2 after taking over a team that was 1-11 the year before he arrived. And not only that, and that's just from the football side of things alone, just on the field. Look what he's done for the city of Boulder and for the university. I looked this up. ESPN had a great article about this yesterday, I believe. Applications to Colorado have increased by 20%. They sold out all but 2 home games last fall, making it the first time the Buffaloes have sold out 4 or more home games in back-to-back seasons since 95 and 96. Last season, the home football games generated a combined $93.9 million in direct economic impact to the city of Boulder and $146.5 million in total regional economic impact, according to the university. Like, he's done so much for that university. I don't know if you can really put a number on what they should pay him. And with the details of that contract, I don't know if you saw, they locked him up pretty good. I was worried about Deion. I was worried he was going to leave, but now I feel a lot better. And he's worth every penny. Like, could Colorado find a coach for half the cost? Probably, but he wouldn't nearly be as valuable as Deion because he brings a hell of a lot more than that $5 million pay difference to me. So he's good for Colorado, and he's good for the Big 12, and I'm glad to have him in the conference.
Yeah, I don't know, football-wise, does he deserve to be one of the 10 highest paid coaches in college football? Probably not, but you could make the argument, yeah, because he took over one of the worst programs in college football and made them into something. Personally, I think on a football side of things, I would have waited another year. But the fact of the matter is, everything that you mentioned, the attendance, the enrollment, the buzz in Colorado, making Colorado a national brand, I don't think you can put a price on that. And because of all of those things, Colorado had no leverage. Like, you either got to give him the deal or not, because you don't want Prime leaving. You don't want him going to the NFL. You don't want him taking one of the Power 5 jobs that's sure to open next year. I think it's the right move. You could make the case that he's underpaid with what he is, with the attention that he's not only bringing to Colorado, but what he's bringing to the Big 12. I think Coach Prime deserves a very big cut of what Colorado's getting from the TV deal, and he's getting one. If they go out next year and go 9-3 again, or 10-2, who knows what the next contract extension could look like.
I think it was smart locking him up now before all these questions started coming out about, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? I think the smart move was to lock him up right now.
But now the question, so what if, okay, Shadeur's in the NFL, Travis Hunter's in the NFL, you lost a lot of talent, you lost a lot of flash. What if they go out and go 6-6 next year, 7-5 the year after? Is there a chance that the prime train not only slows down, because I think it's almost certain to slow down a little bit compared to what it's been like the first 2 years, but what if it stops? Or what if it like really, really slows down? What happens at that point?
Well, I mean, the first year he was there wasn't exactly sunshine and rainbows. I mean, it was this year 2 in the
3 and
Big
9,
12.
4 and 8.
Yeah, where they made that jump thanks to guys like Deion Sanders and Travis Hunter. But yeah, he's going to get guys to go to that program. He's built an all-star coaching staff in Boulder, which I think you can put their staff resumes up to anyone else in the entire country, and they're pretty comparable. I mean, with some of the names he's got on his staff behind him. So he's going to get guys. He's going to draw the buzz. He's going to draw the attention. I think he's going to get players. They're probably going to take a step back from where they were a year ago. I believe that's going to happen. Is it going to be 6-6? I don't know. I don't think Colorado is just going to be this program anymore that you're just going to steamroll like you did 5 years ago in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I was just throwing out that number. I've still got their schedule printed out. It's kind of tough. I mean, it's hard to get easier than they had it last year, but it'll be interesting to follow. The Big 12 is better with Coach Prime in it. There's no doubt. So I'm glad they got him nailed down. I just wish that he was leading America's team out of the tunnel next year.
I knew you were going to say that.
But a man can dream.
You got a puppet running the show there. You got a puppet master and you got a puppet as the head coach. That's exactly what Jerry needed.
It's quite the compliment to call whatever our head coach's name is a puppet. Is there anything below a puppet? He's like a sock puppet.
Yeah, he probably is a sock puppet. Was it Schottenheimer? Brian Schottenheimer?
Schottenheimer or something stupid. I don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care.
God.
All right. That's our football talk for the day. We're going to have a little more football coming up in the off season. But we've got 1 week left in basketball, and who knows? Next week, we might be reacting to the Houston Cougars as the national champions. You'll just have to tune in on Bigger Than 12 next week to find out if they win, because that's the only way you'll know if Houston wins. I'm kidding. Thanks for tuning in to Bigger Than 12 on Iowa Everywhere. We're excited to see you next week.